The Enchanted Journey of Lily. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village at the edge of a vast, whispering forest, lived a curious girl named Lily. She had a head full of dreams and a heart full of wonder. Her grandmother, a wise old storyteller, often told her about the enchanted forest, a magical place filled with talking animals, glowing plants, and mysteries only the bravest could uncover. Although Lily had heard these stories countless times, her curiosity never dimmed. One starry evening, while her grandmother's voice wove tales of the magical forest, Lily whispered to herself, "What if I went there? Could I see the glowing flowers and hear the trees whisper my name?" That thought lingered in her mind as she climbed into bed, the full moon shining through her window like a silver lantern. But sleep would not come. The moon seemed to call her, and the forest seemed to hum just beyond the horizon. Finally, unable to resist the pull of adventure, Lily slipped out of bed, wrapped herself in her favorite blue cloak, and tiptoed out of the house. She glanced back once, making sure no one had heard her, and then stepped into the cool night. The forest loomed ahead, its tall trees reaching for the sky, their leaves shimmering faintly in the moonlight. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of moss and wildflowers. Lily hesitated at the edge, but took a deep breath and stepped in. Almost immediately she heard a soft rustling. "Who's there?" she called, her voice barely above a whisper. A small golden fox with fur that sparkled like stardust emerged from the bushes. Its bright eyes twinkled as it spoke. "Welcome, Lily. We've been waiting for you." "Waiting for me?" Lily gasped. "How do you know my name?" The fox chuckled. "The enchanted forest knows all who seek its magic. Follow me, and you'll see things you've only dreamed of." Without hesitation, Lily followed the fox deeper into the woods. As they walked, the trees seemed to move, their branches swaying as if waving hello. Fireflies danced in spirals above her head, casting a soft glow. After a while, they arrived at a sparkling river that shimmered like liquid silver. On its surface floated flowers that glowed in shades of blue, purple, and gold. "These are the river blooms," explained the fox. "Each one carries a dream. If you make a wish and let the river take it, the forest might grant it." Lily knelt by the water and carefully picked a golden bloom. Holding it close to her chest, she closed her eyes and whispered, "I wish to see the heart of the enchanted forest." The fox smiled. "A brave wish. Let's see what the forest has in store for you." As soon as Lily placed the bloom back in the river, the water shimmered brighter. The fox leapt onto a stone in the river and motioned for Lily to climb on its back. "Hold tight," he said. Lily clung to the fox as it began to move, gliding across the water as if walking on the surface. The river carried them swiftly through the forest, passing glowing mushrooms, trees with silver bark, and animals with eyes that sparkled like jewels. Lily spotted deer with antlers made of crystal and owls whose wings seemed to be stitched with stars. Eventually, the river came to a stop at the base of a giant tree that towered above all others. Its bark glowed faintly, and its leaves shimmered like they were made of gold. "This," said the fox, "is the heart of the forest." Lily stared in awe. "It's beautiful," she whispered. The fox nodded. "The tree holds the hopes and dreams of everyone who believes in magic. Its roots stretch across the entire forest, and its branches touch the stars." Can I touch it?" Lily asked. The fox nodded, and Lily stepped forward. As she placed her hand on the tree, a warm, gentle energy flowed through her. She could hear faint laughter, songs, and whispers as though the tree carried the voices of everyone who had ever loved the forest. The leaves above began to glow brighter, casting a golden light that wrapped around Lily like a warm hug. The fox smiled. "The forest has shared its magic with you. Now you carry its light wherever you go." Lily felt a sense of peace she had never known before. She sat at the base of the tree for what felt like hours, watching the glow and listening to the forest's song. Finally, the fox spoke again. "It's time to return home, Lily. The forest will always be here when you need it." Before Lily could protest, a soft wind began to swirl around her. She felt herself being lifted, as if floating on a cloud. When she opened her eyes, she was back in her cozy bed, the morning sun streaming through her window. She sat up quickly, wondering if it had all been a dream. But there, on her bedside table, was the golden river bloom glowing faintly in the sunlight. With a smile, Lily whispered, "The forest is real and its magic will always be with me." From that day on, Lily carried the memory of her adventure in her heart. Every night, as she closed her eyes, she could hear the soft whispers of the enchanted forest and feel the warmth of its magic. Good night, little dreamer. May the magic of the enchanted forest fill your dreams tonight. Theo and the Starry Bridge. Long ago, in a small coastal village surrounded by rolling hills and the endless sea, there lived a boy named Theo. Theo was known for his wild imagination and his love for the stars. Every night he would lie on the grassy hill outside his house and stare up at the twinkling sky, imagining stories about each constellation. Theo's grandmother often told him an old legend about a magical bridge of stars that appeared only once every 100 years. The bridge connects our world to the skylands where the star guardians live, she'd say. If you're brave enough to cross it, you can ask the guardians for one wish, but only if your heart is pure. Theo loved the story, but he never imagined it could be true. Yet, on his 12th birthday, something extraordinary happened. That evening, as the moon rose high and the stars shimmered brighter than ever, Theo noticed a strange glow coming from the horizon. He climbed his favorite hill to get a better look. To his astonishment, a glittering bridge made entirely of stars stretched across the sky, its golden light reflecting on the sea below. "It's the Starry Bridge!" Theo gasped. Without hesitation, he ran toward the beach, his heart pounding with excitement. When he reached the bridge's beginning, he hesitated. "What if it's just a dream?" he whispered. "No dream, young one." Theo turned to see a silver-haired figure standing at the base of the bridge. The figure's robes shimmered like moonlight, and their eyes sparkled like the stars above. "I am Lyra, a guide of the Starry Bridge," the figure said. "Do you wish to cross and meet the guardians?" "Yes," Theo exclaimed, "but what if I'm not brave enough?" Lyra smiled gently. "Bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about taking the first step, even when you're scared. Come, I'll walk with you." With Lyra by his side, Theo placed his foot on the first star of the bridge. It felt cool and soft, like stepping on a cloud. As they walked, the stars beneath them twinkled, creating a melody that filled the air. The higher they climbed, the smaller the village and the sea became, until they seemed like tiny specks far below. Along the way, Theo saw wonders he could never have imagined. Shooting stars zipped by, leaving trails of light behind them. Floating constellations shaped like animals and mythical creatures danced around them. A great glowing phoenix flew overhead, its fiery wings illuminating the sky. "Where are we going?" Theo asked, his voice full of wonder. "To the Star Chamber," Lyra replied. "It's where the guardians reside." After what felt like hours, but also like no time at all, they reached the end of the bridge. Before them stood a grand palace made entirely of starlight. Its towers reached high into the heavens, and its gates shimmered with colors that Theo couldn't name. The gates opened silently, and Theo and Lyra stepped inside. The chamber was vast and filled with light. At its center stood 3 tall figures, their forms shifting like galaxies. These were the Star Guardians. "Welcome, Theo," they said in unison, their voices like a chorus of wind and music. "You have journeyed far to see us. Why have you come?" Theo hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I wanted to see if the stories were true, and if I could make a wish." The Guardians nodded. "You may make one wish, but remember, wishes carry great power. They must come from the heart." Theo thought carefully. He didn't want riches or fame. He didn't even want to ask for endless adventures, though he had often dreamed of them. Finally, he spoke. "I wish to bring happiness and light to everyone in my village." The Guardians smiled, their forms glowing brighter. "A selfless wish, it shall be granted." They raised their hands, and a beam of light shot from the chamber, cascading down toward the village below. "From this night onward," one Guardian said, "your village will always be under the protection of the stars. And you, Theo, will carry a piece of the Starry Bridge's magic in your heart." As the light faded, Theo felt a warmth in his chest. The guardians gestured to Lyra, who led him back to the bridge. The return journey seemed quicker, though no less magical. When Theo reached the beach, the bridge began to fade, its stars returning to the sky. Lyra gave him one last smile before disappearing into the night. The next morning, Theo woke to find the village glowing with joy. The crops were more vibrant, the sea calmer, and the people kinder to one another. Everyone seemed to feel the warmth of the stars. And Theo? He became the storyteller of the village, sharing the tale of the Starry Bridge and its magic. Every night, as he gazed at the sky, he could feel the bridge's light within him, a reminder of the adventure that changed his life. Good night, little dreamer. The stars are watching over you tonight. The Whispering Lantern, a journey of dreams and self-belief. On the edge of a bustling village, there was a small shop filled with all sorts of oddities. Jars of sparkling sand, clocks that ticked backward, and books with no words until you opened them at night. It was owned by a kind old man named Mr. Alden, who always had a twinkle in his eye and a story to tell. Peter discovers a whispering lantern that leads him on a journey to the well of forgotten dreams, where he learns that even small dreams have the power to change the world. But the most curious item in his shop was a simple lantern that sat on the highest shelf. It looked ordinary, with a brass frame and a glass pane, but if you listened closely, you could hear it whisper. Peter discovers a whispering lantern that leads him on a journey to the well of forgotten dreams, where he learns that even small dreams have the power to change the world. "Don't touch the lantern," Mr. Alden would say to the children who asked. "It chooses its owner when the time is right." For years, the lantern sat untouched, its whispers faint but persistent. Then, one cloudy evening, a young boy named Peter stepped into the shop. He was small for his age and often felt invisible among the other children. But Peter had a heart full of wonder and a longing for adventure. As Peter browsed the shelves, the lantern's whispers grew louder. "Take me," it seemed to say. He looked up, noticing the lantern for the first time. "Mr. Alden," Peter asked, "why is the lantern whispering?" Mr. Alden smiled gently. "Ah, it's calling to you. Go ahead, take it." Peter hesitated but reached for the lantern. As soon as his fingers brushed the cool brass handle, the whispers stopped. Instead, a warm glow filled the room, and Peter felt a strange sense of calm, as if the lantern understood him. "Where does it lead?" Peter asked. "Wherever it is needed most," Mr. Alden replied mysteriously. That night, Peter placed the lantern by his bedside. Just as he was drifting off to sleep, it began to glow again, brighter this time. The whispers returned, but now they were words. "Follow me," the lantern said softly. Peter's eyes widened. He grabbed the lantern and tiptoed out of his house, careful not to wake his parents. Outside, the night was still, and a thick mist clung to the ground. The lantern's glow pierced the fog, illuminating a path that hadn't been there before. Peter followed the light as it led him through the village, past the fields and into the forest. The path twisted and turned, but the lantern never wavered. Finally, it brought him to a small clearing where an ancient well stood, its stones covered in moss. The lantern's glow dimmed and its whispers grew faint. Peter approached the well cautiously and peered inside. To his surprise, it wasn't filled with water but with light, swirling golden light that sparkled like stars. "What is this place?" Peter asked aloud. The lantern's voice was soft but clear. "This is the well of forgotten dreams. It holds the dreams people have lost, dreams they've abandoned or forgotten in their busy lives." Peter leaned closer, mesmerized by the swirling light. He could see images within it: a young girl painting a masterpiece, a boy building a ship, an old man planting a tree. "Why did you bring me here?" Peter asked. "To remind you that even small dreams can change the world," the lantern replied, "and sometimes they just need someone to carry them forward." Peter felt a warmth in his chest. He thought of his own dreams, of exploring new places, helping others, and doing something extraordinary. He had always been too afraid to believe in them, thinking they were too small to matter. "Can I help these dreams?" he asked. The lantern glowed brighter. Yes, but you must choose wisely. Take only one and make it yours. Peter hesitated. The well was full of beautiful, forgotten dreams, each one calling to him. But then he noticed a tiny orb of light tucked away in the corner of the well. "What about this one?" Peter asked. The lantern's light shimmered. "That is the dream of someone who felt invisible, just like you. If you nurture it, it will grow." Peter reached into the well and cupped the tiny orb in his hands. It felt warm and alive, like holding a little piece of hope. The orb pulsed gently before vanishing into his chest, filling him with a sense of purpose. The lantern dimmed once more, its voice now a soft whisper. "Your journey has just begun. Keep the dream alive and it will guide you to where you're meant to be." Peter nodded, his heart brimming with determination. As he made his way back home, the path seemed less dark, the air less cold. He knew the lantern had given him more than light, it had given him belief in himself. From that day on, Peter followed his dream with courage. He found small ways to make the world brighter, whether it was helping a friend, planting a garden, or telling stories that inspired others. And though the lantern's glow faded, its whispers stayed with him, a gentle reminder that even the smallest light can guide you home. Good night, little dreamer. May your dreams shine as brightly as Peter's lantern.